Assalamu alaikum and welcome back to Today in African History with Baba Shaka. I'm Baba Shaka and today is February 13th, 2021. It was on this day, February 13, 1920, that Andrew Rube Foster, also known as the father of black baseball, organized the Negro National League at the YMCA in Kansas City, Missouri. Some of you might have noticed that I'm wearing a different type of cap today, and that's because this cap represents the Kansas City Monarchs, one of the famous teams of the Negro League. Negro League Baseball got its start thanks to the increasing popularity of two things after the Civil War: baseball and segregation. The National Association of Amateur Baseball Players rejected African membership in 1867, and in 1876, owners of the Professional National League adopted a gentleman's agreement to keep black players out. Subsequent African players found their greatest opportunities with traveling teams until 1920, when Rube Foster, as I mentioned before, launched the Negro National League. Reformulated several times with new leagues and owners, Negro League Baseball enjoyed periods of success in the early 1920s and again after the Great Depression. However, Jackie Robinson's integration of baseball in 1947 prompted a slow but irreversible influx of talent to the majors, and the remaining Negro League teams generally folded by the 1960s. As the expanding popularity of baseball in the United States led to the formulation of amateur clubs in the second half of the 19th century, Africans were among those joining the action. Records exist of an abbreviated game between two black players as far back as 1855, that's during slavery time, and by the end of the decade, there were several African clubs in the New York area. However, the continued development of the sport led to attempts to exclude black players from its highest ranks. In 1867, the National Association of Amateur Baseball Players elected to reject applications from African American clubs. In 1876, the Professional National League was formed by owners intent on keeping it a white man's game. Regardless, Africans continued to play and even thrive at various levels of professional baseball. In 1884, catcher Moses Fleetwood Walker of the Toledo Blue Stockings became the first African to play in what was then considered a major league. However, Walker and fellow African Americans often faced outright hostility and physical intimidation from both teammates and opponents. In one case, 19th century superstar Cap Anson of the Chicago White Stockings threatened to cancel a game with Toledo if Walker was in the lineup. Several of the top black players of the era, including infielders Frank Grant and Bud Fowler and pitchers George Stovey, relocated to the prominent International League playing in New York, New Jersey, and Southeast Canada. However, racial tensions persisted, and in 1887, African Americans were barred from signing new contracts in that circuit as well. By the 1890s, black players were increasingly facing exclusion from organized baseball and finding more opportunities with traveling teams. The Cuban Giants, formed in 1885 under the pretense of being dark skinned Latin Americans, traversed the East in a private railroad car to play local squads. Fowler's Page Fence Giants enjoyed impressive success against both black and white opponents, winning 118 out of 154 games in 1895. The close of the century brought an end to formal integrated baseball. In 1899, Bill Galloway appeared in 5 games for Woodstock, Ontario of the Canadian League. Except for attempts to pass African Americans off as Spanish or Native Americans, there will be no more black players in white professional leagues for more than 4 decades, 40 years. Segregation notwithstanding, black players continue to find ways to foster high level competition in major northern cities. The first colored championship of the world was held in 1903, with pitcher Rube Foster leading the Cuban X Giants to victory over the Philadelphia Giants. Everybody's named Giants. Attempts to establish an organized circuit sputtered on several occasions. The Integrated International League of Independent Baseball endured a rocky season in 1906, before dissolving, and the planned National Negro Baseball League came and went in 1910 before a single game was even played. Top teams like the Leland Giants of Chicago and the Lincoln Giants of New York enjoyed some staying power, but were often at the mercy of white booking agents who controlled access to large stadiums. A turning point for black baseball came in 1920 when Rube Foster founded the Negro National League, February 13, 1920. It launched with 8 teams: the Chicago American Giants, the Chicago Giants, the Cuban Stars, the Dayton Marcos, the Detroit Stars, the Kansas City Monarchs, Indianapolis ABCs, and the St. Louis Giants. An enterprise of black ownership, its early financial success prompted the formation of the Eastern Colored League in 1923. The two circuits converged to play the World's Colored Championship in 1924 and continued the annual series until 1927. Stability proved fleeting for the Negro Leagues, however, as players jumped from squad to squad in pursuit of the highest bidder, and teams skipped league games when a more lucrative exhibition offer surfaced. A vital leader was lost when Rube Foster was institutionalized in 1926, and the Eastern Colored League folded in 1928. It reformulated as the American Negro League in 1929, but the Great Depression proved costly for professional black baseball, with the Negro Southern League and a few strong independent clubs emerging as the only entities to survive the 1932 season. In 1933, Pittsburgh Crawfords owner and numbers kingpin Gus Greenlee restarted the Negro National League. That year, he introduced the East-West All-Star Game in Chicago, which became the sport's biggest annual event, attracting more than 50,000 fans at its peak. The Negro Leagues enjoyed a resurgence of success thanks to the backing of owners who became rich through gambling and other illegal operations, as well as the dazzling performance of top players. Some, like catcher Josh Gibson, earned renown for hitting tremendous home runs. He would point in the direction where he was going to hit the home run and put the ball exactly there. But black baseball primarily became known for showcasing a style of speed, daring play, and showmanship. Its most famous player, pitcher Satchel Paige, might guarantee to strike out the first 6 batters he faced, or order the outfielders to the dugout in the middle of an inning. Still, its stars knew to buckle down during exhibitions against white all-star teams and enjoyed a strong record in these matchups. In 1937, the Negro American League was formed from teams in the Midwest and South to counter the Negro National League. The sports held seemingly stronger than ever. An estimated 3 million fans turned out to watch Negro League teams play in 1942, with the World Series revived in that September. By that point, the push to integrate Major League Baseball was slowly gaining steam. In 1942, former UCLA athletic star Jackie Robinson and another black player named Nate Moreland were granted a cursory workout with the Chicago White Sox. The 1944 death of baseball commissioner Kennesaw Mountain Landis, a strict segregationist, provided another opening, and in 1945, sport writers engineered tryouts for Negro leaguers with the Brooklyn Dodgers and the Boston Red Sox, the latter again involving Robinson. As it turned out, Dodgers general manager Branch Rickey was already scouting African Americans ostensibly for a new Negro League, but in reality for his major league team. He forged a secret arrangement with Robinson in August of 1945 and shook the baseball world with his official announcement that October. Following an outstanding season with the minor league Montreal Royals in 1946, Robinson officially integrated Major League Baseball by manning first base for the Dodgers on April 15, 1947. On July 5th, former Newark Eagles star Larry Doby became the second black big leaguer by suiting up for the Cleveland Indians. 3 more appeared in the majors by the end of the year, and the following season, after signing a now 42-year-old Page, Cleveland went on to win the World Series. The successes of Robinson, Dobie and other African Americans like Roy Campanella and Monty Irvin drew the attention of black communities and drained the Negro League of its fan base. The Negro National League disbanded in 1948, and the Negro American League limped through the 50s, its attempt to sign white players and women having little lasting effect on ticket sales. In the meantime, despite the growing power of the civil rights movement, Major League Baseball was proven slow to change. As late as August 1953, only 6 of its 16 teams were fielding black players. However, the historic accomplishments of young stars like Willie Mays, Hank Aaron, and Ernie Banks soon prompted organizations to change their ways, and in 1959, the Red Sox in Boston became the last major league team to integrate with the addition of infielder Elijah Pumpsie Green. The following year, the Negro American Leagues folded. Some longtime clubs like the Monarchs attempted to stay afloat, but the combination of lower grade talent and the strengthening of major sports franchises led to their extinction through the decade, with only the Indianapolis Clowns managing to survive as a traveling team until ceasing operations in 1989. On December 16, 2020, Major League Baseball Commissioner Rob Manfred declared that the 7 Negro leagues would be recognized as official major leagues with their players' records and statistics counted in the records books. Finally, some recognition. So, I encourage you to take a closer look at the Negro Leagues, learn more about some of the great players that came out of there, like Satchel Paige and Josh Gibson and Roy Campanella and so forth. All right. Now, I would like to give again a special shout out to President Baba Mosi and the sisters and brothers of the Woodson Banneker Jackson Bay Division number 330 of the UNIA ACL Rehabilitating Committee. That's the Universal Negro League, the Universal Negro Improvement Association. I'm still thinking baseball. The Universal Negro Improvement Association, which was founded by no other than the Honorable Marcus Messiah Garvey and the African Community Leagues. And these are folks who are helping to promote these daily lessons on their individual and collective Facebook pages. Okay, so we all have the same goal, and that is to enlighten our people, enlighten African people of our glorious history. For those of you who have already subscribed, we thank you most ardently. We thank you for your continued support. For those of you who have not yet subscribed, we encourage you enthusiastically to go do so. Just hit that subscribe button. Become one of the family. So when we air or upload one of these videos every day, it will come directly to you. You wouldn't have to go looking for it. And I encourage you also to like and share, especially with the young people in our midst. Okay? So until tomorrow, inshallah, this is Baba Shaka with Today in African History. Masalam.